Can you share a bit about your upbringing and what experiences shaped your decision to publicly and proudly identify as Chinese, especially during a time when it was not that popular to do so?
Yes, first of all, I need to say, if I just identify myself as a Chinese, it's not so unusual, but I still insist on becoming a fighter, a promoter for unification in public. It's really a little bit weird in Taiwan, especially for my generation. But when I was a child during early 1990s, there were many TV dramas made by Taiwanese producers and played Asian Chinese stories and also filmed in Chinese mainland during 1990s. For example, 新白娘子传奇. I don't know, have you ever watched that?
I think it's a little bit before my time. I was born in 93.
Before your time, okay.
So like when I was like 5, my parents were watching 还珠格格.
Oh, okay. I watched 还珠格格 about my 12. So, 新白娘子传奇 was filmed and premiered in Taiwan about 1992. At that time, I was about 6 years old. 新白娘子传奇 The New Legend of Madam White Snake, which plays an Asian Chinese legend, Asian Chinese story. And it was really part of childhood memory for many 1980s generation in both Taiwan and the Chinese mainland. So through watching these dramas, I identify myself as a Chinese unconsciously because those dramas playing Asian Chinese stories, and those dramas were produced by Taiwanese ourselves. So I would think, okay, Taiwanese are Chinese, and those stories are my stories. Those stories are stories passed by from my ancestors of my nation. So I identify myself as a Chinese unconsciously. But in terms of politics, I need to trace back to the beginning of my teenager's times. I used to watch the TV shows hosted by Li Ao. I know you also knew that, right?
李敖有话说.
Yeah, but before you, I watched 李敖笑傲江湖 and 李敖秘密书房. 李敖语妙天下 is afterwards. Yeah, so I watched 李敖 before you because I'm older than you, right? So I used to watch his political TV shows since 1999. And Li Ao is a pretty famous and I think almost the most influential critic in Taiwan since 1990s. And he moved to Taiwan from Chinese mainland when he was very young.
14.
Yeah, when he was 14, since 1949, because of the Chinese Civil War. And he became a political prisoner for opposition to Kuo Mingzhang's authoritarian rule during 1970s.
And then he became one of the most vocal critics of the DPP and Taiwan separatism.
Yeah.
His criticism's interesting, though, because his angle is, you guys aren't real. You guys don't have the courage to go through with it. It's all fake.
Yes.
You guys are liars.
Yeah, and I was ever a prisoner, right? A prisoner fighting against Kuo Mingzhang's authoritarian rule, for Li Ao. So I think since 1990s until his death in 2018, he kept fighting against Taiwanese separatism. Yes. Yeah, and he opposed DPP. So by listening to his discourse, I have understood both sides of Taiwan Strait belong to China, and the very fact that almost all politicians in Taiwan are liars. For they always claim that Taiwan is an independent country, but which is falsely, and which is not the fact, not only historically, culturally, but also legally. Because according to the legal system in both of Chinese mainland and Taiwan. Both of us think of Taiwan as part of China's territory.
Just a different definition of China, but still China nonetheless.
Yes, just different representations of China. Taiwan's Republic of China and Chinese mainland People's Republic of China. But there's still one China and two parts of China, Chinese mainland and Taiwan. So at that time, I found that all politicians are liars, and it's simply so clear why they always lied, why they always cheated to the Taiwanese people. And finally, I have studied more and more about Taiwan history when I grew up. I have realized that many sorrowful sufferings of Taiwan, usually mentioned by TPP, such as Japanese colonial rule or the White Terror during Kuomintang's authoritarian rule. Those sufferings almost resulted from imperialist invasion into China and resulted from the power of China's fall since the Opium War in 1840. So I really understand Taiwan's history and concern about Taiwan's future. So I know more about Taiwan's past, and Taiwan's future will be connected with Chinese rejuvenation in the near future. And that will be a charming and a wonderful chance for Taiwan's future generations.
Now, many in your generation went through the whole de-Sinicization process, the 去中国化 curriculum, and embraced the Taiwan-only identity, or as Li Denghui called it, 台湾主体意识, Taiwan-centered consciousness. Firstly, as somebody who lived through this transition, could you briefly talk about how it was carried out? And secondly, what was different about your experience? Like everyone else, not everyone else, a lot of other people just bought into it, but you've resisted it. And was there a turning point that made you push back? I mean, in my case, it was easy because I wasn't educated here, so I never received a separatist or de-Sinicization education. My parents just told me, you're Chinese, we're Chinese. And my dad's just like, Taiwan separatism is bad.
Okay. Well, first of all, as I have opposed Taiwan independence since my teen age, I identified myself as a supporter of Kuomintang, KMT, because there were almost only two parties you can choose, pen blue or pen green, KMT or TPP. So when I was young, I recognized myself as a supporter for KMT. However, I was disappointed gradually with their cowardice of revealing their Chinese identity. And what's worse, during Ma Ying-jeou's authorities in 2008 to 2016, KMT's authorities refused to correct separatist education, to correct pro-separatism textbooks.
But you know what's funny? Even though they didn't do that, the DPP still called them Beijing's puppets.
It still call them traitors to Taiwan. Okay, so and during Ma Ying-jeou's times, he insisted an policy that no reunification, no independence, and no force. But that's totally a lie because the status quo can never be remained and always changing at all times. So therefore, I joined another minor party in Taiwan whose name is Xingdang,
the new party. Yeah. It was the breakoff of the KMT in the 1990s. Back during they're like the faction, one of the factions that did not like Li Denghui.
Yeah, so split from Kuomintang in 1990s, and who insists on Chinese national identity and support for Chinese reunification. And I served as a spokesperson for the new party since 2012 until 2020. And during the period of the time, I learned a lot how to debate against Taiwan separatism and experienced in many political struggles for that. So in process of the political struggle, I have gradually thought of myself as a reunification fighter rather than supporter. And now I work as a cyber influencer. According to my interaction with Taiwan's people, their resistance to reunification resulted from not only a misconception of history, but also misunderstanding of Chinese mainland. So I still need to work harder to let them know the fact. And when I appeared to the public to oppose the Sunflower movement in 2014, the DPP supporters not only scoffed at me,
Scoff at your singing.
patted me, make joke of me, and also they reported falsely to the Facebook that the account was not used by the real Wang Bingzhong. They reported falsely that the account was not used by myself. So my account had been deactivated for several times. So it's really annoying for me at that time. But still, I thought of it as a good opportunity for me to, many TV political shows at that time invited me to play the role of the opposition against Sunflower movement because Kuomintang dared not to do that.